And now we move on to the backsplash. Of the whole process, this was the thing that gave me the most headache and frustration, because as I tried to remove everything, I realized that taking off each individual tile, it was just making the wall worse and worse, and that I was going to have to strip off all the plaster off this wall behind the stove, and then take it down to the studs, add back some backer board, and then go from there, try and make it all nice and a good surface and prep it all for the tile, which I really had hoped not to do. And I'm glad we did that, because the very next morning the countertop people came. They installed our quartz countertop, and they need to be able to install it, they need to have your backsplash or your wall ready to go, because they're going to set it right up against it. You don't want to have to install over it. So yeah, we had to have that ready to go, more or less finished, for them to be able to install the countertop. These guys were really good and thorough. They vacuumed everything out, kept everything nice and clean, and I was really, really pleased with them. So I wouldn't hesitate to recommend these people at all. They even installed our sink, which is what I think it's par for the course whenever people are installing your countertops. But we decided to go with a really deep, square, stainless steel sink that's undermounted. And I do not regret that even to this day. It is just so beautiful and sleek. And after they left, I went ahead and installed the faucet. And we have one of those that you can sort of pull the head out and use it as a sprayer, which is amazing. And here's a quick view of what it looks like post countertop installation. Loving it at this point. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and now that this is in, all we have to do is the backsplash. When the time came for us to actually choose the tile for the backsplash, we thought we'd go with this natural stone look, but in the end we decided to go with something different. And we went with the gray subway tile, which I really love and to this day still looks great. And another advantage besides the looks is that you can cut it with one of these tile snappers rather than having to cut everything on a tile saw. So I began by installing this little piece. It's aluminum strip that goes on the end there, and it's just your end cap, I guess. I don't know what the technical name is, I'm sorry. But I put the mastic on the wall, the adhesive, and I started to install everything. You don't actually need to use spacers with subway tiles because they have these little built-in feet on the bottom of each one. I laid a bar across, got it exactly level, or connected it between the two countertops, and right about here my wife says to me, "Does it look like this has got a wave in it?" And I'm like, "What?" And that's when I realized that I hadn't accounted for the height of the countertops from one to the other side. And I realized that the right side counter was actually lower than the left side. So I had to take off about half of the tile or more and start over. So right here, you're seeing me just how far I got before I started to take everything back down and redo it. I'm not going to show you that, but yeah, that's why it caused me so much trouble, because I had to redo the back. Then I put up 2/3, I don't know, more of that wall's tile, took it all or most of it down, and then had to fix the error that I hadn't accounted for. And if I were a pro, I probably would have thought about that way beforehand, but I'm not, so whatever. One of the things I actually really enjoyed about tiling was getting them to fit perfectly around each of the little areas. And I'm not going to hesitate to say that around the window sill or the trim there, I got it to fit really, really nice. You can't even tell that it's a cut piece. It looks like it dies in behind it, which I think you can do, but I just didn't have a way to do that without ripping everything off. So I made a custom fit, and I'm really, really, really happy with the result here. So yeah, I let all that dry for a few days and came back and put on, I believe it's a non-sanded or an unsanded grout, and it looked so amazing when it was done. It wasn't the easiest thing ever, mostly because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, but turned out really well, and it's not cracking. We're, again, a year and a half on, no cracks, no chipping out, so I must have done something okay. And again, my wife was able to get involved. We both did a lot of grouting, and then when I was finishing the grout, she was coming back behind me and wiping it up because it was drying at that point. So yeah, once again, we both had a hand in it. And now for one more reveal. Post backsplash tile and grout installed, you can see that at this point it basically looks like we have a finished kitchen, but we don't. We still have to do the crown molding and the baseboard or the toe kick trim itself, as well as the quarter round around the bases of all the cabinets. But we're basically 99% done at this point, and I was so relieved that it looked really this professional. Under the window there, you see that gap? I still had to fill it in, and what I did is I just took some drywall mud, filled it in, wiped it off, let it set up, and then just sealed it with grout sealer. It actually turned out really well. I don't know how a pro would have filled that in or how they would have accounted for it. I tried at first to fill it in with caulking, but I'm just not that good at doing that, so like I said, I wiped it out and filled it in with drywall mud instead, which is much more forgiving. Here you can see the seam on the end, or the end cap, looks really solid, looks nice. And speaking of nice, here's the actual final reveal of the kitchen. You can see the crown molding is up, I've got all the baseboard and all the trim in. We didn't film any of that stuff, it was just minor details. But I'm going to let you sit back and enjoy it without me talking over it. And thanks so much for watching and for joining me on this journey as I show how I renovated my kitchen all by myself, more or less, with my wife and the help of a few pros along the way. But I really appreciate it, and I hope you will like and subscribe, and I'll see you around here for the next video.